All right, welcome back once again to the Do Whatever podcast. Live? Live, yeah. So the reason for some of the hiatus, that's such a cool word, hiatus, makes just not doing anything sound a lot more dignified. But some of the reason for that is the technical setup of the studio, just working on getting the live streaming going, and it's been, fun trying to make it work. We got most everything out working in here. Most everything working. At least we got cameras working. Still working on sound quality, still working on getting sound from the computer, but I figured, the long-term plan is for these things to always be live on YouTube when they're being shot. But right now, we're going to go live to Facebook. We're going to test it out with the Facebook page, see how that goes. So, hi, Facebook people. How's it going? So, yeah, welcome back once again to the Do Whatever podcast. Look, hey, we're going live right now. Like I said, the goal is to make this a weekly live show that, we're going to have a rotating cast of people. Unfortunately, the rotation, the wheel fell off on the rotation, so it's just me talking to you today. But I've had stuff just like stacking up in my mind to talk about, and I'm just enough of a spaz to where I can't have those things rolling around in my mind forever because new stuff rolls in and then that stuff gets pushed out and anything that was mildly entertaining about it that I had in my mind is then completely gone. So, we're going to sit down and get after it right now. So, look, it's been, obviously the past couple of weeks have been a roller coaster if you followed me on social media at all. Like, it's near the end of hunting season, so I'm trying to cram as much of that as I can. I'm trying to stay in the gym, train, trying to be super dad, sign son up for baseball again. Little girl's still going to jujitsu. So I'm thinking about all that. And of course, there's a toddler, so that's like added insanity no matter what. But like, it's got me thinking, like my best friend Aaron, who, we've known each other, we're partners in Throw Bros together. It really got me thinking about the fact that I've got this perspective of being run constantly by 3 kids and that we're always, diving to get ourselves into new stuff. And I'm trying to find new ways to, find activities for them that'll challenge them, educate them, and all the while keeping them like safe from head injuries and stuff. So, but he's got a 1-year-old. She just turned 1 a couple months ago, and that's their only one. That's their one baby. And he'll text me or he'll call me and have all these these new experiences or these difficulties or these things he's dealing with, which is all new parent stuff. And he and his wife are fantastic parents. They're really, really good at it. And what does it go? Like if you find yourself worrying whether or not you're a good parent, you're probably a good parent. There's your answer. So yeah, that's that's where they are. But of course, they're going to go through the new baby stuff. It's undeniable. And, he'll have some legitimate, real worries about dietary stuff and sleep rhythms and safety and all this kind of stuff. And, if she falls and bumps her head, it's stuff that every first parent kind of goes through and worries about. But yeah, I want him to know, this is fun for me. I hope you know that. This is fun for me. As hard and it's so shitty because in the moment, I know that he is legitimately worried about those sort of things, but I'm on the other side of 3 of them, and I can just see that they're probably going to eat that and then they'll throw it up, or if that gets stuck up their nose, it eventually comes out. It's not that big a deal. Or if they fall and hit their head, as long as they can walk within the next, day or so in a straight line, I guess they're fine. Plus, they never walk in a straight line anyway. It doesn't matter. But it's very entertaining for me to hear a new parent like that. And I know it's sort of that's cold-hearted in a way because that's my best friend and, she's my niece basically. So, but, if it's serious, I guess that's the added benefit. If it really is something serious and something that's a serious worry, then maybe they have Ashley and I as a resource to say hey, maybe that is something to worry about because, even after 3, that's something we would worry about. But it's extremely entertaining. So all you new parents out there, I know that everything feels like it's the end of the world, and it should. That's what makes you a good parent. So I'm not going to tell you to stop doing that. I'm not going to tell you that that's the wrong way to do it. That's the right way to do it. But we reserve the right as more experienced parents to, just not be, not take it as seriously and find it pretty entertaining being on the other end of it. And, there's a divide. There's people, I see it as there's levels to the game of adulthood and commitment. And, when you're single, you're a young single person. You're not even a human. You're just, it's not, I'm not saying that in an insulting way. It's just the consequences of the game are lower. You got you're playing on house money, more or less. Like, it's kind of like if you, at a certain point, if you become single and like you just vanish off the face of the earth, or if you fell off a cliff, it's like, well, I mean, it's tragic. Their mom and dad, if they're still alive, are going to be sad. But, there's levels to it. And like, I was that when I was 26 years old, if I'd have like burst into flames and just turned into a pile of ash, like there maybe would have been like 4 or 5 people that were real sad for like a minute. But I mean, there's no tarnish, there's no legacy lost or anything. It's a 25-year-old dude. Who cares, right? But then when you get married, that's you sort of like owe like some sort of not just loyalty, but like you're accountable to somebody else. And that's a big step. That's a big step to be accountable to somebody else. And that's something I think every young person kind of struggles with, is like, why do you need to know where I am? Or why does it matter what I'm doing? Like, well, you made a life bond with that person. It kind of does matter to be accountable to them. But it's like when you're married without kids, it's pretty much just like dating with the law involved. That's really what it is. It's like you're dating, but you've gotten the government involved, is what marriage is without kids. And I know I'm not trying to like create this like super hierarchy where people with kids are at the top, but no, they're really not. It's just like it's a different level of kind of commitment. I'm not talking emotional commitment, because obviously people without kids can be plenty emotionally committed to one another and to other things, to big causes, whatever. But there's not that like, oh man, there's like developing human lives hanging in the balance of what we do here. So yeah, it's kind of dating with the government involved. And then once you get that first kid, I think that's obviously, everybody talks about that as a game changer. Totally is. Look, everything changes. It really does, but especially, I don't know, I want to say especially for dudes, but that's kind of biased because I am one of those. So that's what it felt like for me. But I think, men's lives in our culture tend to get thrown upside down, tossed in their head a little bit more by that first kid, because it really, like, you've gotten by and succeeded quite a bit as a young man by being selfish, egotistical, and just not giving a shit about anything except what you're going for or what might make you feel good or whatever. Or, if you're a positive person, trying to make positive change and like achieve goals, that's all that mattered to you. And then all of a sudden, like, you find yourself not wanting to care about that as much anymore, and you have new responsibilities. And for women, they having kids life-changing too. Like, it's hell on their bodies, it's hell on their minds. So that's a different level of commitment. But I really do think that there is then a jump from like 1 to 2, and then like 2 to 3. There's like hierarchies, there's just levels to the game. I mean, there's levels to it. Like, it's like the more bodily fluid you're exposed to from other people, the more seriously you take your role in life. Like, so the more you get puked on, the more you get human shit on you, the more clear your purpose in life becomes. I think that's the take home, right? Is that the more bodily fluids from other people, the more times you get half digested milk spit up on you, the more serious of a person you are. Yeah, let's go with that. The more you matter, right? Like, the more poop you have under your fingernails at the end of your life is the ultimate measure of how much impact you really had. Man, that's really what it is. Yeah, but I do, like I said, tying a bow on it, I do get a kick out of the first kid jitters and worrying if everything's being done right, because then, by the third kid where we are, and it's a third toddler, it's like, yeah, I mean, they'll get out from under the tree eventually. Or, like, oh, the car will stop before it gets to them. That's fine. Or it'll pass through their system. That's the ultimate, like, punt from parents of multiple kids. Like, oh, it'll go through his system. He'll poop it out or whatever. It's like, it's like, no matter what your kid eats, by the time you've gotten to the third one, you're convinced that if it didn't explode immediately, no, they'll pass it. They'll pass it. And that's not gross to you anymore. That's not a gross thing. But, yeah. Just completely switching gears. Like, I realize, and also talking to Aaron and other people like that, is like, I am not like that outside of like the stuff with my kids and the stuff that I'm into and the stuff that's happening in my local community. I'm so out of touch. I'm so incredibly out of touch with everything that's happening now. And some of that's just being old, right? And not caring about pop culture. Whatever. That's great. Like I do know that an egg set a world record on Instagram. I do know that. I'm cool with that. It broke one of the Kardashians' record, Kylie Jenner's thing. It broke her record for like most likes on Instagram or something like that. So yeah, I'm in the know on that. I know about the world record setting egg. So yeah, that's like the biggest thing that I have going right now in terms of pop culture knowledge. But that's fine. Not knowing pop culture, I don't think anybody cares really. Like I don't think that's that big of a deal. But where I am like totally deficient is in politics. I don't follow politics anymore. I did. Like I was a wonk, man. Like I was really into it. Like pre 2012. I was definitely into this stuff. Like I followed elections closely. The national politics especially mattered a great deal to me. And just something happened pre 2016. I wasn't one of these people that got disillusioned by 2016. And I know that happened to a lot of people. And hey, rightfully so. But I just wasn't one of those people. Like I fell off like 2014 maybe. Somewhere around that. So like I'm hipstering being disaffected, right? Like I was disaffected before everybody else was. So whatever. But no, like I just fell off and stopped caring. And maybe I think it was a process of having so many kids, man. Like I think it was like, by that time we had 2. And I think I was just so focused on what happened in our family and what happened in our community and stuff that like I started to realize, and some of this, I'm not even saying like it happened by accident. Some of this was a conscious choice. Some of this it wasn't making me happy to know about it. It wasn't making me happy to think about how broken, national government is, the federal government is, or even state government. Like the broader picture, our political system. It wasn't making me feel happy or satisfied or proud or content or any of those things that you should be, or you should aim for at least, when I thought about those things. And I realized that no matter how hard I thought about them, and no matter how big a conversation I got into, or no matter how big an argument I got, or if I won a discussion, or I got into a Facebook thing about it, this is right around the time I completely detached from Facebook, which, hey, irony, we're on Facebook now. But this is right around that time. And I just realized that no matter how those conversations went, no matter how right I felt or how justified I felt or how right I truly was, I guess, in my own mind, that I never felt any better about it, that it didn't create any sense of satisfaction or fulfillment in me. And I got more fulfillment out of the things that happened around me, that happened to the people that I know and that I love. That was more important to me. That happened, that happened right around that time where I started focusing more on what I could affect. And the people I can affect are my family, my friends, and my local community. I can have effects. Like, I think that I can work on me, and that can be very satisfying. But the benefits, the changes I make to me can kind of spiral out. And that's pretty cool. But I just got, I guess, disaffected with it. And I realized that there's like a good kind of catch-all rule of thumb that you can have. Like, if the thing that's being talked about, like on 24-hour news or anything like that, if the thing that's being talked about won't be talked about in a month, it's probably not worth your time. Like, it's probably not going to change the world in such a drastic way that it's worth your time to expend mental energy and worry about. Now, there is a huge elephant in the room about this that I'm totally aware of, is that I am a middle-class white male, and that in some ways, I have the privilege, if you want to use that buzzword or whatever, or the ability to not think about some of that stuff. Like, policies made by shitty people aren't going to affect me. Like, I don't have relatives in detention centers on the border, just by virtue of my birth and my ethnicity or whatever. Those aren't things that I accomplished, but they're so they're things that don't affect me directly. But that I fall back to that rule. If it doesn't affect me for a month, if it's not going to be something that directly affects me, then, or not something that I can directly affect change in, then it's not worth my constant worry and focus on. And I think like the news culture we have, the social media culture we have. God, I sound old. So boring and old. The social media culture I just said. Like next I'm going to be like, we live in a society. That's what I'll be saying next. But yeah, like it really kind of feeds on that idea of like constant worry or constant combat or constant pushing against or disagreement or something like that, because that works, right? Like it sells the message, and like it gets you, you'll watch ads, I guess, if that's really what you're going for. I mean, speaking of ads, oh man, what a segue that was, but I really didn't mean to have one, but while I'm thinking about it, if you are a Highland Games athlete in Texas or the region around it, Spencer Tyler and I, a world record holding Highland Games athlete, Spencer Tyler, are doing a seminar in Cedar Park, Texas, just outside of Austin on January 26th. It's like 9 days away. Man, I should get ready. But we're putting on a free seminar in Cedar Park, Texas. It's going to be at Heroes CrossFit in Cedar Park, Texas. It's going to be an all-day affair. We're going to have a lecture portion. We'll have a break. We'll have Q&A. And then we'll have a hands-on throwing session too. And Spencer's a pretty good thrower, if you didn't know that. He's pretty good at throwing the heavy things. So he's also was a track and field coach, so he knows how to coach you. And I'm going to be talking about programming, based on that book right there, Heavy Light. I'm going to talk about programming, a little bit of nutrition stuff, a little bit of overall fitness, a little bit of how to structure a season, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll just do Q&A and we'll shoot the shit. There'll be other good Highland Games athletes there. I think there's going to be multiple Masters World Champion. Mike Dickens is going to be there because he lives in the area, so he's just going to be hanging out. And so you get to rub elbows with those people and also pick up kind of throwing advice from them. So that's January 26th. You can go to... if you go to my Instagram bio, you can buy tickets there. Also, if you just search for it on Eventbrite, like Spencer Tyler, Mike Beach, Highland Games Seminar, you'll find it there. You can also find a link at throwbros.com. That's the number one place to go because you can get all your throwing gear, get ready, and then you can sign up for the seminar there. So there's also going to be a live stream option. Will cost a little bit of coin to do the live stream because all this stuff costs. But yeah, if you want to be able to watch it, if you're not able to make it down to Texas, you can do that. Anyway, so yeah, got that advertisement, got that chump change out of the way, as some would call it. So, advertisement though, and this kind of dovetails into like the outrage culture and the idea that I was talking about. Man, I'm getting super serious on this podcast, and I did not want to. This is what getting involved in stuff gets you. It gets you a super serious podcast. But I watched the Gillette advertisement, the thing that I got everybody up in arms about. This is something kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm a big fan of, protecting, but also protecting masculinity, but also kind of curating. Is that a word for it? Kind of curating masculinity and making sure that it's something that is a positive in society. So yeah, I'm all about that. And it seemed like everybody's up in arms about this. Of course, like everything else, I saw the tweets, I saw the Facebook post about it and everything before I actually saw the thing. So I saw some opinions being formed, and the opinions being formed before I even saw it come up were like, it's toxic masculinity and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to find it while I'm talking to you here. So it's apparently the focus of the commercial was like focusing in on toxic masculinity and like taking aim at like men's traditions and behaviors and things that like might not be the best for society or whatever, or that not even that, just like saying like, hey, we could do better, like is the idea behind it. And then some people took umbrage with that. Because it's like it feels like it's an attack on things that are traditionally masculine to say that those things are automatically bad. So I can see that. Whatever. I mean, I'm protective of masculinity. I'm a dude with a beard that pretends to be manly, and I throw rocks, and I train to fight, and I lift weights, and I hunt, all this kind of, I think I already said that, but like I already, I do all this stuff. So I'm protective of that. I believe that there's a spot for that. There's a role for that in society. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, it can go wrong. It can go bad. So I checked it out. I pulled up the ad. Let's see if I can pull this. I can show you guys. I don't think we're going to have sound on it, but whatever. What kind of production are you guys expecting here?
Bullying.
The Me Too
so
movement
I know
against
it starts off with like,
is this the best a man can get?
The word toxic masculinity like appears in the background with like a newscaster saying it.
Is it?
And then they kind of show some traditional like bullying stuff, and
we can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going
bullying,
on far
they're
too
showing
long.
like sexual harassment stuff and pop culture. Like,
We can't laugh it off.
yeah,
Who's the daddy?
all this kind of stuff. And
What I
sexual harassment in
actually
the workplace,
think she's
right?
saying.
They're
Making the
dealing-
same
they're
old
talking about all this
excuses.
stuff. It's a commercial. It's a little ham-fisted.
But something
Love the
finally
word
changed.
Allegations
And there's,
regarding
the
sexual assault
boys will be
and sexual
voicing, and
harassment.
then they talk about the Me Too movement. And I think the general idea
And there will
behind
be
all
no
this
going
was
back.
like, I think their big
Because
message
we-
was, we can do better.
We believe in the best in men.
They shows
need
two
to
boys
hold
like tell
other
boys to stop
men
fighting.
accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing.
And this is the part it's showing now.
To
I'm not
act
putting it on the screen,
the
but it talks
right
about
way.
like men intervening against other men when they're doing things
Some
like cool, like
already
sexual
are.
harassing, or like
In ways big
kids, or bullying happens, or intervening on stuff.
And
Yeah,
small.
that's all good. Teaching girls confidence instead of breaking it down, and all that stuff.
but some is not enough.
So I don't know. I'm of two minds about the
how we
commercial.
treat
Like
each
when I
other,
first
man.
saw it, I'm like, hey, that's fine. Like,
Because
it's
the
just
boys
saying,
watching
don't be a
today
dick. That's kind of like great
will
advice,
be the men
like
of
man
tomorrow.
or otherwise, right? Hey, don't be a dick. Try that. Like I think that's a good message. Because some of the things are dick. Don't sexually harass. Don't grope women in the workplace. Don't do that. Don't bully people. Don't like mindlessly show out for your boys by catcalling a girl or something. You're a dick. Like, not doing those things is manhood, right? Like, being a man is not bullying. Being a man is being respectful to women. So those are, why would anybody that loves masculinity have a problem with that message? That not doing those things is what we should shoot for. That I should be able to call you out on you being a dick. Like, that's manhood right there. We have a culture of that anyway. Like, dudes fully believe in that. Like, I'm full believer in getting called out or picked on by your friends, or like is an instructive thing for men. That it's not bad. But you can cross a line to that being bullying, and that's not cool. So don't be a dick and do that. It's just, I don't know. I don't have a problem with that message. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with the message of the whole commercial. What I do have some issue with is that it's a razor company. Like it's a company for, for obvious reasons. I have, on my face, I'm not too vested in the razor industry, but like, I guess I'm trying to be open-minded about this, because I don't want to do that initially, like, just shut up and make razors thing. Because that's, like, everybody has a platform, and if you're using your platform to try to get a positive message out, good on you. It's like, what's the acceptable way to get a message out? Who's the acceptable person? Like, who's the one? Like, okay, it can't be a razor company. Let's say that. Who's it supposed to be? The president? Yeesh. Who else is supposed to put that acceptable message out there? Obviously, you should be doing it, right? And this goes back to me saying not being involved in the national political discussion or the cultural discussion as much as, yeah, that's my job. I'm supposed to teach my son that. Cool, I'll do that. He doesn't need to watch the Gillette ad. I don't need to either. We got some pretty good ideas on what manhood is and what not being a dick is. Just keep going back to that rule. Don't be a dick. Don't teach your kids to be dicks. Yeah, that's my job. That's your job as a dad and as a mom. That's your job to teach young men that. So that's job one right there. But who gets to make the bigger message? Who gets to make, who gets to have cultural touch points? Razor Company wouldn't be my first choice. Because, like, it's about the bottom line, whatever. They're not doing that because they think it's going to cost them millions and billions, hundreds of millions of dollars of sales. I'm not even digging, and I bet there's plenty of just unethical, questionable shit in their past because they're a corporation. They're a multinational corporation. That happens. But so, yeah, maybe they're not the best messenger, but okay, who gets to be the messenger then? Do we get to be the arbiter of who the messenger is? No, we don't, but we get to pick if we want to listen to it. And that's pretty cool. Having that kind of freedom is pretty neat. Can an NFL quarterback do it? Can somebody who's achieved a lot in sports, can they do it? Can they put a message out about something's wrong in society? Are they allowed to? How are they allowed to do it? Obviously, that's a minefield I'm stepping into right there. I totally understand that. I'm just saying, like, why do we... I'm just always cautious about that response. Even though I feel it, I'm always cautious about that response of like, well, just shut up and do the thing you do and don't have a message. Well, look, at a certain point, if you have a platform and you have money and you have the ability to buy ad space or the ability to be seen, and you feel that there's something that's a worthwhile cause to get behind, who am I to tell you not to? Like, do you have to have a certain number of fans or followers or below to have not free speech, because that's a legal issue, but like the societal freedom to say those bigger cultural touchstone messages? Do you have to be the size of this podcast to say it? Or once you reach $50 million in revenue, you can't have an opinion about it anymore? I mean, on the other side of the coin, we've also said that corporations can use money as speech. So kind of which is it? So that's why I'm cautious about the Gillette ad thing always. That's things like that in general. I never want to be the guy that says, just shut up and do the thing that we expect you to do. Like, that's, I don't know. It feels bad to me. It feels gross. But I get it. Like, it rings, that's what it is. Like, it rings hollow with me. They have every right to do it. It just rings hollow. And also just some of the choices in the commercial were just, like I said, ham-fisted. I'm just going to use every opportunity to use the word ham-fisted that I can. You guys cool with that? Like, ham-fisted should be the name of the podcast from now on. God, that is such a good word. How did they even get to that word? How do we get to where... I want somebody... Do we have any etymologists listening? Anybody listening live right now that's an etymologist? How do we get to the word ham-fisted? How do we get there? Have I done this before? I feel like I've lauded the word ham-fisted on the podcast before because I love it so much. I just want to know how we got there. I want to know how, like, a fistful of ham, or like a fist made of ham, like starts to mean like overdone and obvious. How do we get to that? Like, how do we get to ham and the fist being like, hey man, that's too obvious. You're overdoing it. You're overdoing it. I mean, I guess if you have a fistful of ham, you're like, that's what it is. There's nobody in this world that has a fistful of ham that's not overdoing it. there's nobody that has a fistful of ham that's just doing the bare minimum. If you've gotten yourself to a situation where you have one or two fistfuls of ham, you're in over your head. You've overdone it. People are noticing if you've got two fistfuls of ham. So that's how we got there. How did somebody come up with the idea of putting an egg on Instagram to get the world record? Because I think that's brilliant. Oh, one of my cameras just went down. Cool. You guys just get to look at it. This is going to be a private show now. But, I mean... How did, like, and it's not one of these, like, what is the deal with that? It's like, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of the idea of just the most innocuous possible thing to set a world record. A world record, by the way, that's stupid. Like, it's, just old manning it all over the place, but it's really... There are people keeping track of what is the most liked post on Instagram, I guess. And, that's what I like about the egg, because that's a big middle finger, a big ham-filled middle finger to that idea that we're tracking who has the most likes on Instagram. That's what I like about the egg. That's what I'm kind of digging about it. That's where we've gotten as a culture, is that we are so... We live in a society. That's where we've gotten to, where like everybody's become so internalized and has like an inner dialogue or like narrative about what's happening in social media that we need something as stupid as an egg to point it out to us. And I love it. I love it. I love that somebody did that. Also, I saw somebody see the Mike Tyson egg, and somebody put the face tattoo on the egg. It was fantastic. Like Tyson tweeted, like, stop sending me this shit. And usually those are fake when a celebrity does, somebody makes that stop sending me this shit. But Tyson really did that, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. We're all turning into like weird, we're all turning into weird introverts in a way. And I'm not trying to disparage people that are truly introverted. That sounds weird to say, but like the kind of introversion we're getting is weird. That like it's just totally socially acceptable to be in a social situation and be where you are and just turn inward into that phone. And I'm not even like judging outwardly. I do that shit. I do it all the time. Like I'm just having a lively conversation in a huge, loud place and everybody's laughing, and I'll just turn into my phone and check what's going on. Like I'm if you can't tell, like I'm an extroverted person. Like I generally get my energy from, people, from interacting with them and stuff like that. And how annoying are people like me, by the way? How utterly annoying are people like me that are constantly talking, that constantly have a new topic, that constantly have something that they're doing and they need to talk about. I, at times, get extremely jealous of people that do a bunch of really cool shit and have no need to talk about it. Just no need. They just do awesome shit and they don't talk about it. I mean, the thing is, they're never gonna be as big as the egg on Instagram for doing that, but they're probably gonna have a pretty awesome life and be really, really self-satisfied because they're not comparing themselves upwards to the next person doing that cool thing. They're just happy to be doing it. I get jealous of that, and this is part of my going off, like why hunting is so cool for me and why I enjoy it so much, even though I share some of that. But just when you're off in the woods and you're trying to make something work, whether it's camping, whether it's hiking, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, you're trying to make it work, you just don't have time to give a shit what people think. And God bless the guys that do, because I've learned a lot from watching them. From watching like the extroverts and the people that want to produce content, the Steve Ranellos, the Cameron Haynes, the Eduardo Garcias of the world, all these people that put out this fantastic content for us, and the millions of other people out there that I've watched videos on, best way to cape a deer and like all this kind of all these things I've watched. Thank God they're there, because I don't think I have it in me. Like I can share a little bit, I just don't have that level in me. But I am one of the absolute annoying extroverts. I get my energy from that, and like it's therapeutic to talk out loud. I'm talking in a room by myself to a microphone right now. That's how much I need it. That's how much to the verbal communication of what I'm thinking is important to me, that I've found a platform to do this. That's insane. But the introverts are kind of, obviously, I don't live with any true introverts in my family. I think my son is probably the closest. He's probably the closest that we have to an introvert, but he's still very, very social and plays with kids a lot. He's not even really, he's just the closest we have, I guess. Maybe my wife. I think Ashley is probably closer to an introvert, I guess. She doesn't enjoy having people watch what she's doing, or having an audience is not her thing. And I guess Evan's like that too. My oldest son is like that. He doesn't like having an audience and doesn't don't look at me. I don't like it when people watch me. And I'm the exact opposite. I love that. I make no bones about that. I actually had a much easier time in life once, 5-10 years ago, whatever. I understood that, yeah, I like having an audience. Let's go. That makes me do better. I dig that. There's no reason to be ashamed of it anymore. It's just how I am. But there's, that true introversion thing really, I feel like it sets people up a lot of times to have really much clearer vision and focus, because they're not worried about the product going out. They're more worried about the input and controlling that. And I find that admirable. I can't relate to it because it's not me. But I do think it's cool. And I think it's cool that both of those types of people exist, and that they generally tend to find each other in some way, shape, or form. I also think that's kind of cool. One needs to be pulled out of their shell, the other one needs to be held back from flying away. I think a lot of you would find that the relationships in your life, like best friends or romantic relationships, or even business partners, are going to go that way. And yeah, it's a cool dynamic. I do think this, though. Here's my thoughts, because it's my podcast and I paid for all the stuff, so I get to say it. I do think in our little the era we're in right now, that I think introverts get glorified sometimes. Not to say extroverts don't, but extroverts glorify ourselves. We're plenty good at glorifying ourselves. But I think there's sort of an echo chamber happening online, because it's easier for people that are more introverted to communicate there. But there's this echo chamber that introverts are really, they're quiet because they're really thinking about what they're saying, and that outspoken people are just blah 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 blah, and we're not thinking about it. We're not real thinkers. That introverts are more interesting people that just happen to keep it on the side. I think that's bullshit. I do. I'm sorry. I think interesting people are interesting whether they're introverted or extroverted. How's that? How's that for controversy? But just because you're introverted, and just because a lot of your thoughts go to yourself, you keep a lot of thoughts to yourself, doesn't mean you're more interesting. It doesn't. Like, it may make you feel more mysterious, and mysterious can be interesting. And if you're a dude, chicks dig mystery. So, yeah, you got that going for you, I guess. So maybe work that angle a little bit more. But, yeah, I don't think I think there is some glorification of introversion that happens sometimes. And I don't know. I think that'd be all well and good if it weren't the opposite side of things, to like people that have small talk or people that are extroverted or always have something to say are somehow mindless, somehow just spewing things out to hear themselves talk. Like that's somehow a negative. You know, unfortunately, that personality makes the world go round a little bit. Not completely, but communication makes the world go round. And at the same time, all the programming that goes in, all the stuff I'm using right now and the engineering, that makes the world go round too. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have both. I think there's a weird culture right now where it's just like everything else. Everybody's picking teams right now. Like, everybody's got to pick a team. I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, or I'm messy or I'm organized, or like, you know, I'm tall or I'm, you know, tall people and short people, or, you know, fat people, skinny people, or I don't know, people that are supposed to be on my podcast and people that bailed on me. Yeah, but there's a path to happiness for everybody, so that's cool. I mean, whether you're introverted, whether you have to have those thoughts inside your own head, or whether you have to get them out and work them out that's what it is. Like, I have to work things out with people. Like, making big decisions is hard for everybody. Nobody likes to just dive face first into decisions, but I like to work things out in front of people. That's actually what I love about that's why I'm such a fan of stand-up comedy, is that I really feel like a good stand-up comic, you can see them over the course of a career, like, or even in one set, you can see that, like, it's not just they didn't come up with a joke and they're trying it. Like, they've worked on that. They've worked through this, and they've worked through every angle of it, and they've worked through this thought, and they've done it in front of people, and that requires, like, you know, that requires some skill and some talent. And you can't do that sitting alone by yourself. You can't do that just writing tweets about it. That can be part of the process for sure, but you have to work it out in front of people. You have to work it out with other comics. You have to work it out with people. You have to work it out with, you know, in front of an audience. There's just no way around it. Like, you have to do that. And I mean, that's how people work themselves out. You know, like that's how you work out. And it's, you know, that's a profession thing for sure. But that's how you work everything out, right? Like, that's how you work yourself out. That's how you become friend to people. That's how you become dateable. You know, that's how you find somebody to partner with and marry and have kids with, is that you have to work things out about you with other people. You can't do it all by yourself. You can overdo it by always counting on the opinions of other people, and we've seen that. And that doesn't work well either. So having some balance is obviously good, but you have to work things out with other people. Oh my God, I'm so married, and I'm so happily married. And I'm so happy I don't have to date or work myself out anymore to date. Oh my God, at 39 years old and after 3 kids, I cannot imagine what dating would be like now. It would be a nightmare for me. Like, I'd have to sit across from another person, like my age, younger, whatever. Like, I'd have to sit across from another person, and I'd have to I'd have to find something to talk about. Like I'd have to sit across from somebody who's never seen me wipe a child's vomit from under my eyelids before, and like somehow hold a conversation. Like, that's a level. I can't step back that many levels in conversation, is what I'm saying. Like, my wife and I, we've seen each other clean like human filth off of ourselves while having a conversation casually, not even about the human filth that's on us. We've had casual conversations, and like, I can't step back that far. And people that are dating and women that are dating, like, say things that like they don't really like, that sound good, but they don't really mean. It's like, I want somebody that's just themselves. I want somebody to be honest. Like, I want somebody that's just, will lay themselves bare for me. Not in the cool way. Just like emotionally lay themselves bare. Like, I want someone to be honest. And like, that's awesome. That's a really like great idea. until like I like show up on the date with like all 3 kids and like latest blood work and like a video from my colonoscopy and I'm looking at my phone cameras and thinking about this. And like the 4 hours of video footage on my phone of me angling to see how bad my bald spot really is. Like that's honesty, and that's what I want. Like I want somebody that knows that about me already. I'm 39. Like I want somebody that knows all that already and accepts that, and we can go ahead and talk about other stuff. I don't need to be honest and lay myself bare because I've been doing that for the past 18 years. It sounds like a nightmare. Like going back to date somebody, especially a younger person. Young people, I love you, and if you're listening, I love you. But if you're under 25, I have no idea what I would talk to you about. It's not because you're uninteresting. You probably are. Under 25, I don't know, maybe not. But it's just that I'm so uninteresting now, and you're probably much smarter and more capable at things that move fast than I am. And it's like, I want to talk about the squirrels in my backyard and how interesting that is. No one wants to talk about that, Mike. Hey, Mike, nobody wants to talk about that. But my wife will sit and listen to me and laugh along. Like, I know she doesn't want to talk about squirrel behavior either, but I find it fascinating, and it's better than just sitting there waiting around to die, which is what everybody would do otherwise if you didn't just find new things to talk about and push out into the world. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. That's why you end up paired with somebody, because they think the stuff you spew out of your mouth is interesting enough to keep them talking and keep everybody interested in learning something new maybe once every day, and then we're all good. Speaking of eyelids, we were out looking at, I'm going to end on this story because whatever, I'm probably going to run out of batteries and half this stuff. I haven't got it all figured out yet, but we were out looking at a piece of land. Ashley and I have been kind of lightly considering the idea of buying like a tract of recreational land for like hunting, all that kind of stuff, and maybe a little cabin on it. And one of the places we looked, everything was awesome. We loved it. It was an old Christmas tree farm. The place was great. It was beautiful. The kids went out with us, and like it was so adorable, and we were charmed and everything. And then I was talking to the real estate agent, and the second we're getting into the truck, Ashley's loading in the baby, the 2-year-old. Like the second we're finishing up and shaking hands, out of nowhere, like a bee or a yellow jacket comes out of nowhere and stings Ashley right on the face. Like I was thinking it was on her eyelid, but I think that was when she was a kid that happened. But stung her right on the face. And she like squeals. And she said something stung, like, it's a bee. I thought, oh God, it stung the baby. And here's the thing. When you have like a 2-year-old, a toddler, and something happens like a bee sting or like an allergic reaction, your immediate thought is like, oh God. And then the next thought is, this is what we're doing now. From this point, for the rest of today, possibly through the rest of the night, this is what we're doing. This is it. And that's what my thought process was, because we're like 2 hours away from home. And like, okay, the toddler stung. There's a chance she swells up, and then we got to worry about airway stuff and stop at a rural ER and then spend like half the night trying to get kids back and forth to home. Like I'm just going down the rabbit hole because that's what I do. Like on this podcast, I even I don't go down anxiety rabbit holes a lot, but when it's a kid potentially hurt or having an allergic reaction, yeah, I'll go down those rabbit holes. I'll go down them real good. But no, Ed stung Ashley on the face, which it's okay. It's an adult. It's better. Like she's going to be able to communicate and manage herself a little bit better. And plus she's pretty darn smart and capable in the medical department. So not too worried about that. But what she was fine, by the way. So we got her some Benadryl, we iced it, it went away. She was fine. She's tough as nails. She's way tougher than I'll ever be, by the way. I would bitch and moan the whole way home and beyond about a bee sting, but she was just fine. But what was great was, like, I was kind of like shaking hands and having that awkward goodbye with the real estate agent. Like, okay, we'll call you, make sure you get your number. But it happened right then. And then we just, oh God, we jumped in the car and we just went. And that was such a great exit from a conversation. Oh, it was so good. It was so nice to have that exit strategy because it got rid of the awkward, like slowly kind of inching backwards to your truck and like, all right, I'll call you. Well, if we'll look at some finance, like all that kind of real estate stuff. It was really nice. That would be super nice if we could kind of pull that out. Like every time we needed to get out of somewhere, if we could pull out and you don't even need it, man, you don't even need it to be an actual bee sting. Come to think of it, you don't need it. You don't have to have a real bee sting. You can just say a bee stung you. I think this is like a world exclusive right here, guys. This is going to be my exit strategy from now on. I'm going to wait till a moment they're not directly looking at me, and we're going to fake a bee sting. No one can tell you who's going to tell you you're lying? Who's going to be like, yeah, no, I don't buy it, man, because it doesn't show up immediately. Be like, I might be allergic. I got to run, man. All right, I got to go. Oh, that's a bee sting exit. Bee sting exit is my new way of getting out of everything. I'm not going to use it right now to get out of the podcast. It's a video podcast, though. I could. And plus, with video being what it is, the resolution's great, but I could fake a bee sting to get out of this podcast right now and bring it to a close right at 45 minutes. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to say goodbye. So, January 26th, coming up soon, Highland Games Seminar. That is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of information going on there. Cedar Park, Texas. Go to throwbros.com. Gear up for Highland Game stuff. Off season's going. Make sure you go and do that. Pick up yourself a copy of my book if you want to learn about how to program your season for the Highland Games, how to throw, all that kind of good nonsense. There's also lots of good books and resources at throwbros.com. But yeah, get your tickets for that seminar if you want to go for free. If you want to do the live stream, spend a little bit of money. You'll get a link to the live stream. You get to watch right along with us while we do it. All right, that's it for me. You guys are the best. This is going to continue to grow and develop, but I didn't want to leave everybody hanging forever. And Facebook folks, thanks for hanging in. All right, see you soon.